All right. The Tide taking on the Arkansas Razorbacks. The Hogs come in at 7-3. Stephen, despite Alabama's dominance since Nick Saban arrived, and even some of those great championship runs, at this point in the season, there was always a debate over best team in the country. Even last year's team, once we got to the finish line and they bested Ohio State, sure, everyone was in agreement. This is obviously the best football team in the country. But at this stage in the season, I don't remember a time when everyone looked at one team and said they're the consensus best team like we are right now with Georgia. So Bama's obviously on a collision course with the Bulldogs. There are some mathematical equations out there that could deprive Alabama of that trip, but we won't get into that because it would take a whole lot to keep them from Atlanta. So you mentioned offensive line first and foremost. What else on this team needs to improve for Bama to have a legit shot against Georgia?
I think number two, Mark, you would have to look at the Alabama secondary and that not having the busted coverages. They're getting better with that on the back end, but the secondary, following responsibility, following pursuit, communication, making sure everybody knows what they're doing and covering each other on the back end. And that's Jagan Armour-Davis, that's Josh Jobe, that's Malachi Moore, Brian Blanche, Jordan Battle, DeMarco Helms. They have got to communicate and cover each other on the back end, because we've seen at points this season where there's been either a busted coverage on a tight end or a busted coverage play on a wide receiver, or somebody not taking the running back on a wheel route. And when you look at Georgia coming up here down the stretch, they got three really good tight ends. Two of those guys, Bowers and Darnell Washington, number 0, very athletic, very skilled. They run their routes to a T, and if you lose them, they are going to burn you. They're going to make plays. Stetson Bennett knows how to play winning football for that program. So outside of the offensive line, I look at Alabama's defensive secondary cannot have the busted coverages here coming down the stretch. They got to get that cleaned up all the way.
It's Arkansas straight ahead. Then, of course, the Iron Bowl against Auburn before Bama makes its way to the SEC championship game.